Well, wolves will be wolves. That was a line of dialogue that was actually uttered in The Hunting, streaming on Tubi, written and directed by Mark Andrew Hammer, or Hamer. There's one M in it. I don't know which one to go with, so I'm going to go with both. Hammer. Hooray! Hammer Horror. This is its feature film debut, written by Heather and Terrence Ryan. They also did the makeup effects for this movie. I have a feeling the crew was very, very small. And based on the cast, and based on the fact that I think most of the scenes were done in one take, maybe two at the most, I don't think that will really come as much of a shock. When it comes to Tubi movies, this isn't even a Tubi original, you're either going to get something schlocky, cheap, but you can laugh at it, or you're going to get something that's completely bullshit, like Unsheltered, that just makes you angry, or you're going to get something kind of here in the middle that's like The Hunting, where there's some ideas that could work. Some ingenuity is there. Some potential is there. 3 different people writing the movie, though, makes it a little bit messy. And had there just been a little bit more money behind it, or maybe if some things had been left in the dust and they just focused on a few things, it probably would have actually worked pretty well. They tried for something really, really good and a little more grounded as far as like the concept and the fact that it's about werewolves. Yes, it's about werewolves. Sorry if you didn't catch that from the very opening line. I really can't help you. And trying to reinvent the wheel on werewolf movies is very hard to do. It does remind me of Moon of the Wolf, which came out 50 years ago, which isn't necessarily the best comparison because Moon of the Wolf was kind of cheesy. But at least with this, there were some good ideas. They just weren't executed very well. The acting was not very good. Even though everybody tried, there was Peyton Tillis. He plays twin brothers Matt and Connor. So he only got one paycheck, but he had to do twice the work. And there's also Angela Cole, baby. Non-wrestling fans have no idea who I'm talking about. She plays Sarah, a woman looking for a missing husband. And there's Joelle Westwood, not to be confused with Tim Westwood. I don't know why you would confuse either of those two. She's not related. She plays Mags, who is trying to keep the family business going. A wolf sanctuary. There's also an Indian guide that is a family friend named Todd. And there's also Dr. Keeley, who's a coroner. And then there's a guy named Dave. And whenever Dave wasn't on camera, I could say, Dave's not here, man. His dad is a police chief sergeant something or other. He's a high-ranking official in this town of Mantua, Ohio, that looked like it populates maybe 50 people. Actually, it's probably about 3,000, but still, nevertheless, has a very small town feel to it. So, yeah, Peyton plays Connor, who's a detective, a very beefy detective, by the way. This guy looks like he could lift a planet or rip a tree out of the goddamn ground. He's investigating these animal attacks, but it turns out there's a lot more shit going on. And then we cut to the wolf sanctuary, and we have Mags and Todd talking, and Todd knows a lot of shit that he's not saying, because Mag's parents went missing in the Alaskan wilderness. Why would you go to the Alaskan wilderness? Nobody likes the Alaskan wilderness. If you think you do, you're insane, but good for you. I don't know if polar bears are out there in the Alaskan wilderness. Maybe they're opening Coke bottles. Maybe they're doing that. Maybe they're having campfire stories. No idea. We get campfire stories a little bit later. We get a lot of horror movie cliches and some stuff that might have mattered if we really cared about any of these characters. And the acting, look, I know people have to start somewhere. This wasn't very good. This is very amateurish. And unfortunately, I think that's where any of the ideas fall down and crash down to earth, even though they were barely hovering more than 5 feet off the ground. It's not as bad as Unsheltered, which was complete, utter dog shit. And I have seen worse movies than this. But unfortunately, what dooms it is just the fact that it is very, very cheap, and it's not good. The dialogue in particular, not very well. 3 people writing, it got really messy. And there was they did flashbacks, they did, a bunch of like foreshadowing and everything. It was very obvious who the fucking wolf was from the very, very beginning. There were a lot of things, as I noted. Look, I'm really acting here. I'm really acting. I'm serious. Look, I mean this scene. It's like people were being held at gunpoint off camera. But anyway, so yeah, there's a killer on the loose, and then they find out it's a werewolf. I mean, that's pretty goddamn obvious, considering no human being could do that kind of stuff. I don't know why I'm going to worry about spoiling this thing, because missing out on this while there's some good ideas will not haunt you even for 5 fucking minutes. But I'm going to do a spoiler warning right here. There's going to be a spoiler warning now. But again, in all seriousness, missing out on this will not haunt you one bit. People basically are missing. There's a lot of missing person reports. There was a guy that was killed in the very beginning on a night fishing trip, because who the fuck wouldn't go fishing at night in a seemingly abandoned area? I mean, then again, you wouldn't want to fish in a river, or especially when there's a van down by the river. But maybe don't night fish. And then people are getting killed. There's the brother Matt, also played by Peyton, who's haunted by visions and was blown up by stuff. And it turns out actually he's a werewolf. How is he a werewolf? How did he become a werewolf over there? These are questions that need to be answered. Did I just totally miss that? Did I just have did my brain just stroke off there? I have no idea what's going on. He's haunted by visions of losing his platoon. Okay, that makes sense. He could build on that. But then he's suddenly a werewolf. I gotta say, the costuming, that budget must have been like $5 fucking. Everybody can, I understand defending low budget, but good fucking grief. Come up with some ways where you don't have to show something that looks like it wouldn't have passed for 1982. I mean, and fucking American Werewolf in London came out. I mean, granted, that had more money, but that was 40 fucking years ago. 41 years ago. And then Todd's communicating with Maggie while she's dealing with the aftermath of her, the loss of her parents and everything. She's running up a credit card debt. She don't know. She's trying to take care of these wolves. It turns out that, Todd knew that her parents hunted werewolves. Just casually mentions this about halfway through the movie, by the way. Connor's doing his investigation along with Dave, and when Dave was out of the car again, Dave's not here, man. Matt, we cut back to Matt. We cut back and forth to a lot of people. He has REMs, or MREs, meals ready to eat, rather. And then as more bodies pile up, there's just for whatever reason a very, very, very stereotypical gay guy, or maybe he's really gay. I mean, I don't know. I'm not here to judge, but they've really made him act over the top. And two girls that get murdered in the woods by the wolf. Once we start seeing the werewolf, we're like, wow, really? That's it? They try to get artsy with some of this stuff. There are some cool panning shots, but they just the brothers. The brothers don't meet, but apparently we find out within the last 20 minutes they have a psychic link, because Matt has these scars all over, and whenever he hurts, his brother hurts. And then during this whole thing, Mags finds this memory card on her computer, or in her dad's book, this ancient book that tells these stories of how to hunt werewolves in this weird language, that goes back to the beginning of time. It's different languages and everything. And then she finds a memory card and she sees, oh my God, what the hell's Connor doing there? No, it's not Connor, it's Matt. And then we get two different scenes going on where Matt is stumbling around like crazy while murder investigations are going on. He tries to kill Dave because Dave was still here, man, and he didn't want him to be there. And then also at this point, Mags was upset at Connors, thinking that he did it, so she had a gun on him. And then he's communicating, no, you can't do this, please don't do this, I know what you're going through, don't do it. But the way they're doing it, they're trying to be artsy because he's actually talking to his brother, and then his brother gets shot. But then it turns out that he's okay. Also, Todd at one point went out to do an investigation and got attacked by the wolf before this happened. Gee, I wonder what's going to end up happening to him. Because he didn't die. We didn't see him die. And then the brother gets a military funeral. Okay, that was nice. And then we get a letter from Todd. All this money he saved up, he gave to her. 17 grand. That ought to keep those wolves fed for about 2 months. Or she just pays off the debts and maybe she can get government funding. Who the fuck knows? And it turns out that, Todd actually is committing these murders because he's cursed by the wolf. Again, bare bones of a good idea. It was just flat, and just anything that happened, it didn't feel like it was fault. I don't know. It felt like when they finally followed through on some things, they just threw a bunch of stuff at the screen. They're like, okay, now let's go and possibly hook a sequel. The Hunting 2, Electric Todd Boogaloo, Glory Be Todd. F. It's an F. I'm sorry, but it's just, I can excuse low budget. I can give it some praise for the ingenuity. But it gets an F because it's really cheap. It's really bad. It is really, really bad. Again, not the worst thing I've seen. I will rewatch this over Unsheltered. but it wasn't very good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Reckland. I'll see you soon.